Lil Durk, in a federal cell, talking about peace with NBA Youngboy. Yeah, you heard that right. The same man who built his name on revenge is now preaching forgiveness through Islam. But the question is, can real peace exist when blood's already been spilled? Once, Lil Durk's words fueled war across cities. Now, those same lips recite verses from the Quran. From diss tracks to duets, this might be the most shocking transformation hip-hop's ever seen. What happens when the man who started a war starts searching for peace? Lil Durk sitting in a federal cell, studying Islam, asking himself, can redemption really erase a lifetime of pain? You won't believe this. Lil Durk's in a fed cell, reading the Quran, saying he's ready to forgive NBA Youngboy. From bloodshed to brotherhood, this story might change hip-hop forever. It started as a rap beef and turned into a war. But now, behind cold prison walls, one man's finding faith and maybe even forgiveness. This is Lil Durk's untold story. You won't believe what's going down in the rap world right now. Lil Durk, yeah, that Lil Durk, is sitting in a federal cell, doing some deep soul searching. Word is, he's ready to make peace with NBA Youngboy. Crazy. This man who once lived by street codes, plotting revenge and moving in shadows. Now he's finding peace through Islam, preaching forgiveness from behind bars. But there's way more to this story than the internet drama you see online. This isn't just another rap beef. It's about faith, redemption, and the question nobody ever asks, can real forgiveness exist when blood's been spilled and families torn apart? Let's rewind a bit. Everything started shifting when Durk got hit with those federal charges. One day, he was running the rap game, money, fame, power. The next, he's sitting in a cell, staring at life in prison. And when the noise fades and you're left alone with your thoughts, that's when reality hits hard. Sources close to Lil Durk say he's been spending his time behind bars in a way nobody expected, quietly studying Islam, praying, and reflecting on how far things really went with NBA Youngboy. Think about that for a second. This is the same man once surrounded by chaos, street wars, diss tracks mocking the dead, and a rivalry that spilled far beyond music. What started as rap competition turned into something darker, stretching from the streets of Chicago to the neighborhoods of Louisiana. It became personal, deadly, and for years, Durk was right in the center of it all. Now that same man is sitting in a federal cell, reading the Quran and talking about peace. According to people close to him, Durk isn't just trying to sound spiritual, he's really trying to understand the meaning of redemption. They say he's been asking himself tough questions about the lives lost, the families broken, and the way his influence shaped a generation of young fans who looked up to him. And from what insiders say, this isn't one of those jailhouse religion situations you see all the time. This feels different. Durk's been wrestling with real guilt, the kind that doesn't fade when the cameras are off. He's facing the weight of his choices, the ripple effects of his music, and the reality that for every lyric about revenge, someone out there might have taken it literally. When you're looking at a possible life sentence, everything hits different. You stop thinking about fame and followers. You stop worrying about money and status. What really takes over is the silence, the kind that forces you to face yourself. For Durk, that silence has turned into reflection. He's been talking to other Muslim inmates, learning prayers, studying the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and trying to find meaning in the pain he caused and the pain he's lived through. People around him say he's even admitted that the violence and ego that came with fame blinded him. That somewhere along the way, he stopped being the humble kid from Chicago and started becoming the character the streets expected him to be. Now, stripped of all that, no designer clothes, no flashy cars, no entourage, he's left with only one thing, himself. And that's where the real transformation begins. The turning point. It's one thing to talk about forgiveness when you're free, but it's another to truly understand it when you've lost everything. Sources say Durk's been deeply moved by the idea that in Islam, no one is beyond redemption, no matter what they've done, as long as they sincerely repent. He's reportedly told people that this message hit him hard. The idea that forgiveness starts from within. That you can't ask for peace in the world if you haven't made peace with yourself first. Durk's been reflecting on the damage done, not just to rivals, but to his own community. The beef between him and Youngboy turned into a nationwide divide, inspiring fans to pick sides, sometimes even turn violent. What started as music turned into a movement fueled by anger. Now, behind bars, Durk is realizing that his words carried more weight than he ever imagined. Every diss track wasn't just entertainment, it was energy being sent out into the world. Energy that came back around in ways he never expected. The inner conflict. But even with this awakening, it's not easy. Durk's friends say he struggles with guilt daily. There are nights when he sits in silence, thinking about the people who can't be brought back, the lives changed forever. He's realizing that redemption doesn't erase the past, it just changes how you move forward. And while he's been open about wanting peace with Youngboy, he also knows that not everyone's ready to forgive. Because forgiveness isn't just about words, it's about trust. It's about showing people that you've changed through your actions, not your statements. Durk's reportedly started writing again, but not in the same way as before. His new lyrics, according to one insider, sound more like confessions than threats, more reflection than retaliation. If he ever releases them, fans might see a side of Durk they've never known, one that's honest, raw, and spiritually searching. Redemption and reality. Still, not everyone believes it. Some people in the industry think this change is strategic, that Durk's new spiritual image could help him in court, make him look remorseful to judges and juries. And that's a fair question. In a system where image matters, even genuine growth can be misunderstood as manipulation. But those who've spoken to him privately say it's real. They say he's not doing this for attention or sympathy, he's doing it because he's tired. Tired of losing people. Tired of pretending to be untouchable. Tired of carrying a burden that music, money, and fame couldn't heal. One person close to Durk described it perfectly. He's not trying to be a saint, he's just trying to find peace. For the first time in his life, he's not fighting anyone. He's fighting himself. A possible new beginning. Whether the world believes it or not, this moment could define Durk's legacy. If his transformation is genuine, he could become something hip-hop rarely sees, a man who walked through the fire and came out with wisdom instead of bitterness. And maybe that's the lesson buried in all of this. That even the hardest hearts can soften. That even the most violent stories can have a peaceful ending, if someone chooses to break the pattern. Lil Durk's journey from the streets to spirituality isn't just about religion. It's about what happens when a person finally stops running from themselves. It's about a man who spent years chasing respect in a world built on pride, now realizing that the greatest respect comes from peace. He may still be facing a lifetime behind bars, but for the first time, he might truly be free. Islam teaches mercy and redemption, and Durk's been taking those lessons to heart. He's been praying with other Muslim inmates, learning from them, and slowly trying to rebuild himself from the inside out. But here's where the story gets even deeper. It's not just Durk on this path, Quando Rondo's walking it too. Remember, Quando lost his cousin Lil Pab, a death many believe was revenge for King Von. That pain could have fueled hate forever. But instead, Quando found Islam and, according to people close to him, he's been learning to forgive, even forgiving Durk himself. Think about that. The man who had every reason to want revenge is now choosing faith over fury. He's been saying how Islam teaches that holding on to hate only destroys your own soul. He believes someone's got to break this cycle of violence, and maybe that someone is him. If Quando can forgive, what does that mean for Durk and Youngboy? Could faith actually end one of the most dangerous rivalries in modern rap? And just when things start to shift spiritually, the streets react differently. Durk's longtime producer and close friend, DJ Bands, recently went live and aired out some hard truths. He said people who used to ride with Durk, dissing Youngboy, talking tough, are now switching sides, pretending like they barely know him. When the fame fades and the feds move in, that's when you see who's real. Bands said the same people who screamed OTF for life are ghosting Durk now that he's locked up. It's the kind of betrayal that shows how fake loyalty runs deep in this industry. Everybody loves you when the check's clear, but when the walls close in, you find out who's really in your corner. And right now, Durk's corner is looking smaller, quieter, but maybe more peaceful than ever. When life's good and the money's flowing, everyone's in your corner. But the moment you catch a case or face real consequences, those same people vanish, like smoke in the air. That's what DJ Bands was talking about when he spoke on Durk's situation. He said something that really hit home: "I don't know what the future holds for Durk and Youngboy." Then he started reminding people how even the worst enemies have found peace before. He mentioned Gucci Mane and Jeezy, two rappers whose beef got so real that people actually died. But years later, they stood on the same stage together. He even compared it to how political rivals like Donald Trump and Barack Obama can shake hands when it matters. The message was clear: anything's possible. Maybe Durk and Youngboy don't have to end this with more blood and destruction. Maybe there's still a road to peace that no one's seeing right now. But peace only works when both sides want it. It takes humility, self-awareness, and the courage to let your pride go. And right now, it seems like only one side, Durk's side, is talking about forgiveness. The aftermath, Youngboy's response. While Durk sits behind bars studying Islam and preaching forgiveness, Youngboy's out on stage every night, performing his Durk diss tracks like it's still war season. Every concert, every city, he makes sure the beef stays alive. He's rapping about Durk's legal troubles, throwing shots, and keeping that energy that's been fueling their rivalry for years. If actions speak louder than words, Youngboy's message is loud and clear. He's not ready for peace. The contrast couldn't be sharper. Durk's in a federal cell reading the Quran, reflecting on his life, trying to find peace. Meanwhile, Youngboy's performing in front of thousands, feeding the flames of a feud that's already taken too much. The bigger picture, religion versus street code. What's happening between these two isn't just another rap beef. It's a clash between two worlds, faith versus ego, forgiveness versus revenge. Durk's turn toward Islam represents a path of redemption, a chance to break the endless cycle of violence and finally grow beyond it. It's the path that says, maybe all this death and pain isn't worth it. Youngboy's response, though, represents the street code, the rule that says you never back down, never forgive, and never show weakness. In that world, mercy looks like defeat, and respect is earned only through dominance. So the question becomes, which one wins in the end? Can faith and forgiveness really overpower years of hate and pride? Or does the street code always pull people back in? Street politics, loyalty, and betrayal. This story also shines a light on something bigger, the fake loyalty that runs deep in the rap game. DJ Bands called it out when he said people around Durk switched up the moment he got locked up. When the money was flowing, everyone was OTF. Everyone was shouting, "Slide for the gang." But the minute Durk got hit with charges, those same voices went quiet. That's the ugly side of street politics, loyalty that only lasts while it's convenient. The people hyping you up for war are usually the first to disappear when the war comes to your doorstep. If Durk had more real ones around him, people who told him to slow down instead of feeding the chaos, maybe things wouldn't have gone this far. But when you're surrounded by yes men and people chasing clout, rational thinking doesn't stand a chance. Now that he's facing real consequences, he's realizing what loyalty truly means. Because when things get real, that's when everyone shows their true colors. Cultural impact, Islam and hip-hop. There's also something powerful happening here, something that could change hip-hop culture itself. Both Durk and Quando Rondo turning to Islam in the middle of all this isn't just a coincidence. It's a sign of something deeper. Islam has always been part of hip-hop's DNA, from the early days of Africa Bambaataa to artists like Jay Electronica and Lupe Fiasco. But this moment feels different. It's not about image or trying to look righteous. It's about two men searching for peace when the world around them is built on conflict. If Durk and Quando can genuinely live by those teachings, forgiveness, brotherhood, discipline, it could set a whole new example. Imagine the impact if they used their platforms to spread peace instead of pain. Because millions of young people watch these artists and model their lives after them. If they see their idols choosing forgiveness over revenge, that could change the energy of a whole generation. But that only happens if it's real and if others in the culture support it. If Youngboy and others keep glorifying the street code over spiritual growth, then that message gets lost. At the end of the day, this isn't just about two rappers. It's about what kind of legacy hip-hop wants to leave behind, one built on ego and endless beef, or one built on growth, faith, and forgiveness. The legal reality, facing the consequences. We can't ignore the part that's really shaping all of this, the law. Lil Durk isn't just dealing with public opinion, he's staring down serious federal charges that could lock him away for life. And when you're facing that kind of time, everything changes. Suddenly, fame, money, and street respect don't mean much when you're looking at the rest of your life behind bars. The federal government doesn't play with RICO cases. They've got endless resources, patience, and a track record of bringing people down who thought they were untouchable. And Durk, sitting in that cell, is probably realizing just how heavy those choices weigh when the consequences finally catch up. Maybe that's what's pushing this new spiritual awakening, the realization that the street life always ends the same way, prison or a grave. Sometimes it takes hitting rock bottom for a person to finally open their eyes. But still, there's a question floating around. Is Durk's change of heart genuine, or is it strategic? Because in the legal system, remorse can make a difference. Judges and juries often look kindly on someone who seems to be changing, who's trying to find redemption. So while Durk's spiritual growth could be real, there's always that whisper of doubt that maybe this transformation also helps his case. The media narrative. Who controls the story? Another layer to all this is the media. How the story gets told can completely shift how people react. If the headlines start focusing on forgiveness and redemption, it forces everyone, Durk, Youngboy, and even the fans to live up to that narrative. But if the media keeps pushing the drama, highlighting every diss and every tension, peace doesn't stand a chance. That's where DJ Vans comes in. When he went live and talked about the possibility of peace, he wasn't just venting, he was shaping the story. He planted the idea that maybe, just maybe, this beef doesn't have to end in more bloodshed. But then you have Youngboy, performing diss tracks at every show, sending a completely different message. His actions tell the media and the world that he's not done, not ready to let go, not interested in peace. And let's be honest, the media thrives on that kind of chaos. Drama sells. Conflict gets clicks. Peace doesn't trend. So even if one side is trying to grow and move on, there's always pressure from the culture and the audience to keep the beef alive. The future, what happens next? So what now? Where does this go from here? It could pressure Youngboy to respond differently or, at least, force fans to rethink how they view the situation. But if Youngboy keeps performing those diss tracks, peace might never stand a chance. It's hard to reconcile when one side is preaching forgiveness and the other is still fanning the flames. A lot will depend on how Durk's case plays out. If he manages to beat the charges or gets a lighter sentence, he might come home with a clearer mind and a real drive to make things right. But if he's convicted and ends up serving serious time, that tension might live on through his camp, his people, and the streets that still see this as unfinished business. There's also the culture itself to think about. Hip-hop fans love the energy of conflict, the back and forth, the tension, the who's winning narrative. That appetite for drama makes peace harder to sell. The truth is, the culture often celebrates beef more than it celebrates healing. The bigger picture. Two philosophies colliding. What we're witnessing right now isn't just two rappers clashing, it's two belief systems facing off in real time. On one side, Durk's embracing Islam and talking about forgiveness, redemption, and breaking the cycle of violence. On the other, Youngboy's holding firm to the street code, never backing down, never showing weakness, never forgiving your enemies. And somewhere in the middle stands Quando Rondo, the one man who should hate Durk the most, choosing to forgive instead. That alone shows how powerful faith can be when it's real. But peace doesn't come easy. It takes both sides to step up, both sides to grow. Until that happens, this story will keep playing out like a mirror, showing hip-hop what it's always struggled with: pride, pain, and the fight between ego and evolution. Youngboy's still performing those diss tracks like the war never ended. No matter what Durk says about peace and forgiveness, it's clear he ain't ready to let go. And that's what makes this so tragic. You've got one man trying to make peace and another still feeding the fire. When that happens, the streets pay the price. Because the young men who look up to these artists, they carry that energy. Even if Durk and Youngboy one day find peace, their followers might not. The beef continues in the streets long after the music stops. But maybe, just maybe, there's still hope. DJ Vans reminded everyone that even the worst enemies can grow past their pain. Remember Gucci and Jeezy? For years, their beef was deadly. Real violence, real loss. But they still found a way to stand on the same stage, face to face, and move forward. So now the real question is Durk's spiritual awakening from the heart, or just a move to help his image? And can Youngboy ever see the power in peace instead of pride? Because the truth is the culture's watching. Every move they make, every word they speak, sets the tone for the next generation. Their choices could either keep this cycle of revenge alive, or finally break it. So what do you think? Is Durk really changing, or just playing smart? Can Youngboy ever put his ego aside and choose forgiveness over beef? Let me know in the comments, because this story is far from finished. Right now, we're watching a real-life battle between forgiveness and revenge, between spiritual growth and the street code. And whatever path these artists choose next, it's gonna echo way beyond just their music.